latest editions of Morning Coffee with Dave Casty. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Renogy solar kit. I got the 400 watt solar kit, which comes with two 200 watt solar panels. In another video I will go over the actual panels that was shipped. But first I'm going to be going over the charge controller, the cabling, and everything else that came with the kit to get it hooked up. Just an FYI, it took Rich Solar, so this is a Rich solar kit. It took over a month to get all the parts. First of all, the 200 watt solar panels were on back order and I didn't realize it. Took a lot of fighting tooth and nail just to get those, and then constantly just had to harass Rich Solar. And then for some reason this came after the solar panels, which was, there's literally no excuse for that. They had this in stock and they were blaming that FedEx lost the shipment, but whatever. I just think Rich Solar has probably one of the worst logistics out of all the solar companies, so just be aware of that. If you're in no rush, go with Rich Solar. It may be on the slightly cheaper build as far as build quality goes, but from what I understand, they work very well. The panels work well. They're very efficient. Their charge controller is very good. So if you can, if you have time to spare and you don't mind slightly cheaper build quality, but just as efficient products, yeah, I would go with them. It's free shipping. Everything's online. They have these awesome kits with almost everything included except for the battery. They don't make batteries. So that's essentially it. Everything else, even you can buy fuses there. Obviously they have all the cabling you need. So yeah, here we go. This is unbox this puppy. As you can see, that comes with the solar extension cables. These are the MC4 cables. These are actually very nice. It's got the MC4 connector here, and then they even do the thing where they wire cut the cable for you and just leave this little end so that this can very easily be put into the charge controller. So obviously this connects to your solar panel, and then this would connect into, obviously you have red for positive, black for negative, and these would go in from your solar panels into the charge controller. So let's take apart the charge controller. Is kind of the brains of the operation. This puppy right here, it's pretty big actually. I'm pretty impressed by its size. This is so you would actually connect your solar panels into this charge controller. It controls the charge. So there's varying voltages from solar, and then this just makes those varying voltages and charge from the solar panels into a consistent voltage. And then you would hook up your battery from this charge controller. And then from the battery you would have an inverter which converts the DC to AC for your everyday appliances. So let's take a look. Let's open this guy up. Hope you can see this okay. Let me actually put this off to the side. So yeah, this is quite nice. I'm quite impressed with this. It feels very sturdy and hefty. Very nicely designed. 40 amp. So I think with the 40 amp, according to them, you can get away with an 800 watt total system. You might even be able to get away with more solar panels than 800 watts, depending on how you're connecting them. If you're connecting them in series or in parallel. I think if you wanted to do more than 800 watts, you would connect them in kind of a series and parallel kind of system. And you might be able to squeeze out a little more, get away with a little more solar panels. But the recommended, I think, is that, so I have, obviously I got the 400 watt kit. You could probably get away with, obviously you can get away with extending that to 800 to getting 2 more 200 watt panels. So that's awesome. This is very nice. It's got this really nice heat sink in the back. So you'll know the difference between a good charge controller and a bad charge controller. Well, not a bad charge controller, but this is obviously going to be a more efficient charge controller. What you're going to look for is the MPPT versus the PWM, I think it's called. So the MPPTs are usually a lot better, and you'll know, I mean, they're usually a lot more expensive than your MPWs. And the reason being is that they're a lot more efficient. They can draw the maximum kind of range and voltage from solar panels, whereas an MPW, like when the sun rises and when there's not necessarily peak power coming from your solar panels, it's really not going to pick up on that. So this picks up on all kinds of gradual levels of solar, which is great. And then also obviously it can handle a lot more voltage. So 40 amp box, so can handle a lot more voltage coming from your panels. And I wanted to do this right. I wanted to get a bigger, more decent size, and which would leave me room for growth. So that's why I got this bigger one, which is great. This is awesome here. It looks like it even comes with instructions on how to set it up, selecting the installation location, the fixed screws, and the wiring. As you can see, obviously your solar array and everything else. And then it explains, actually it even comes with, so this cable here is actually to hook up the Bluetooth monitor. And in another video, I'll actually go through the whole installation process. I'll hook up the panels. I'm still waiting on my batteries, and once I get my battery, I'll hook up my battery. As you can see here, this is all very nice. So I believe this connector here is for the monitor itself, but maybe not. Maybe the temperature monitoring and everything else, the Bluetooth connector is for this guy. I'll have to, actually that might be for the temperature for the battery, and then we connect this directly onto the battery, and then this is for the Bluetooth monitor. I think that's how that works. And then as you can see here, you have PV plus and negative for your photovoltaic charge. That's obviously you're hooking up your solar panels into these two connectors here. You have your two battery connectors, positive and negative. And then your load, which typically you don't use. Usually you would do your load directly from the battery itself, and then you would have some kind of fuse box coming from the battery. That's for like very small DC kind of loads. Maybe you have some lights or something that coming off a fuse, and you could use that. Typically most people don't use that. They will do their load. Obviously you're going to do your AC loads from the battery, and then which then goes into the converter and then converts it from DC to AC. So that's you would use that for AC loads. But even for DC loads, a lot of people will do their DC loads. They'll have a DC fuse box that's connected to their battery, and they'll do it that way instead of just doing a direct DC load from this. But I mean, you could do that if you were like, if you just wanted a direct solar to DC load. That's how you would accomplish that. So we already went over the solar MC4 connector. So let's look at the battery cables. These are also very nice. 10 gauge, the MC4 cables were 10 gauge as well, so that's decent. That's really all you need. So obviously you would do the positive to the positive terminal of the battery, the negative to the negative terminal of the battery, and then also I think these are nicely clipped as well. I don't know if you could make that out, but they already wired cut it for you. You know, if you were just to go with the length of this cable, this is a 10-foot cable. I mean, ideally you would, your battery is probably going to be closer, or at least I would hope it would be closer to the charge controller than 10 feet. So really, ideally, you should cut the cable to length. Only cut to what you need to the battery. So I'll probably end up cutting this anyway, even though that's, you know, they already kind of did the work for you. But I'll cut it to length. So you really should only use the cable length that you need. It's just better transfer of power and more efficiency when you do it that way. I actually ordered, this is the only thing that didn't come with the kit. This is the fuse. This is a 40 amp fuse that I think will go from, yeah, it's going to go from the battery connectors on the charge controller to the battery itself. So that's going to go in between. You're going to hook up, so the positive cable will go to this fuse, and that's just kind of extra protection for the battery and the charge controller. If it goes above, anything above 40 amps, it will obviously cut itself off and protect itself from overload. So that's good to have, but that's the only thing in this kit that's not included. I think it was only like, I forget what it was. It was really cheap. I can't even remember if it was like 10 or 20 bucks, but I was like, I should probably just get this. Might even be cheaper than that. I can't recall though. But everything else that you see here, including two 200-watt solar panels, comes with this kit. This is actually what I was referring to. This is actually the Bluetooth adapter. So it's the BT1. So what this essentially does is allows you to remotely monitor, and I think you can even, comes with an app. So it allows you to remotely monitor what's on the charge controller. So you can do like monitor things like battery temperature, how much power is going in, you know, how much solar power you're producing, voltage, amp hours, those kind of things. Everything that you would use to monitor your system. You could also I think you could also monitor your battery charge level, which is important, right? Because I'm getting an acid lead battery to start, and obviously you don't want those to drop below 50%. Otherwise that will kill your battery. So this will kind of monitor all that stuff. I think you can even go ahead and say, like, if it drops below 50%, to just kill charge for the battery, meaning don't let anything draw any further juice from the battery, kind of thing. So just this has built-in intelligence. I'll have to play around with this, and maybe in another video I can hook this up and explain more in depth of how that works. So this would just essentially go into what that looks, that little network jack that I showed you earlier. I believe it goes into this guy right here. So let's just try it. Yeah. So that's great. So instead of, I'm gonna have my system all hooked up in my shed, and this will save me having to run back and forth to my shed to monitor the system. There's a little diagram of how it works. Yeah, as you can see, Bluetooth to your phone, and then you can see what's going on with the charge controller. But, yeah, so that's that, which is nice that they throw that in there. It's really good to have. And then, oh yeah, and then, sorry, there's one more thing for the MC4 connectors to the solar panels. This is the one fuse that does come with the kit. So this is a 15 amp diode fuse holder for the MC4 connectors to your solar panels. So you would connect this to the positive extension cable, So this would go snap into here, right? And then so you have the male to female. So this would snap into here. And that will give you, you know, charge protection from your solar panel into your charge controller. And the last thing I'll show you in this kit, or the last thing that's included in this kit other than the actual solar panels, is these nice solar panel brackets. So you would attach these you would attach these, hold on one second. So you would attach these, I'm just gonna cut these open real quick with the box cutter. So it comes with all the brackets. You need 4 brackets, I think. Screws to attach it to the solar panels. And then brackets to whatever you're mounting the solar panels to. I'm mounting them to my shed. So they'll go on my shed roof. So first you would use these bolts to attach these brackets to your solar panels. And then so I think this is the part that goes to your solar panels, and this is the part that would actually go to whatever surface you're mounting your panels to. This comes with nice screws, and then I also got a roof sealant too, exterior roof sealant. So I'll plug in that roof sealant into these holes and these screws to make sure that everything is watertight and sealed when I'm mounting it to my. Okay, so that's basically it. And like I said, I'll show you the diagram from the website, and then I'll actually go ahead and show you the solar panels. And even further, I'll show you the whole installation setup. All right, thank you, and hope you enjoyed this video thus far. Ciao. This is Morning Coffee with your host, Dave Casty, and this is my second installment of unboxing the Rich Solar 400 watt solar kit I got. So in my previous video I was going over unboxing the charge controller, the cables, the MC4 connectors that connect to this solar panel into the charge controller itself, and then also the battery cables. Even further, they threw in one fuse for the MC4 connectors going from the solar panel into the charge controller for overload protection. And then also I bought an additional fuse that goes from the battery to the inverter. And I also went over the positive and negative cables, the battery cables, etc. Also, they included mounting brackets and a Bluetooth remote connector for the charge controller. And in this video, I'm going to go over unboxing the solar panels. I apologize, I already kind of preemptively unboxed everything to make my life easier. It was stapled on this side and then had tape all along the edges. Also, I tried to film this earlier, but I had some technical difficulties. This is I think this is actually my second or third run at this. So here we go. We're gonna unbox and unveil the solar panels. I got two 200 watt solar panels, and I wanted to get even though these were on back order, I wanted to get the 200 watt solar panels just because that would give me more real estate. I'm putting these on my shed roof. So in the future, if I get like maybe 2 more 200 watt solar panels, I think my charge controller can handle up to 800 watts, maybe even more, depending on how I connect them in series or parallel. But yeah, this will take up kind of a minimum amount of real estate on my shed roof, and will leave room for growth. So that's exactly what I wanted. So I got 2 of these puppies for now. And yeah, let's open this up and take a look. So, oh yeah, also I mentioned in my previous video that, you know, I wasn't happy with the logistical team at Rich Solar. It took over a month just to get these panels and the kit itself. Kind of fought tooth and nail with them, kind of harassing them every day for an ETA, and finally these do arrive. So I would recommend Rich Solar if you're not in any rush to get your your kit. As far as build quality goes, maybe you take a slight hit, you know, on build quality from, let's say, like going with Renogy. But as far as efficiency goes and, you know, actually working, pretty much just as good. I think they work at like a 98-99% efficiency rate as long as you have peak sun hours. So that's great. You know, other YouTubers mentioned that they had, you know, a lot of success with Rich Solar, so that's great. Good to hear. Can't wait to hook these bad boys up. Yeah, and so let's open this up and take a look. So yeah, so here we go. Yeah, this is the frame is in very good shape. Other people mentioned that, you know, these are produced in India, and sometimes you'll find like weird things like sand and stuff on the frame. I didn't discover any of that, which is good. The frame seems like it's very intact. You got the Rich Solar logo up here. The panels themselves look like they're in excellent condition. Even the wiring between the panels look like they're in good shape. Well connected, well done, well designed. Other than maybe, you know, it looking like maybe the build quality is not up to par with like Renogy, but as far as everything being built, it looks well produced. And then yeah, so yeah, the solar panels themselves look excellent. Happy with that. Even the honestly, another complaint was kind of like with the frame, the back frame, and the quality. People were, you know, had gripes with, but kind of with like the caulking around this, the frame area to, you know, to seal it, to watertight seal it, and everything else. I mean, honestly, it looks really good as far as I'm concerned. Even the caulking around the little panel here that connects it to the MC4 connectors looks great. So yeah, no complaints with that. This is the model RS-M200 for 200 watts. Maximum power, obviously 200 watts. Maximum voltage is 20.4 volts, right? And obviously the voltage varies, and that's why you have the charge controller to kind of regulate the voltage. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with this. This is yeah, this concludes my unboxing of the panel itself. I got 2 of these. I won't obviously unbox the other one. They're duplicates. Yeah, and just reach out to me if you have any questions in the comment section. And make sure you subscribe. In my next video, I will be going over mounting the brackets that came with the other kit, or the other box. And then yeah, I'll be screwing those in, and then next maybe hopefully I can show you the actual setup and mounting these to the roof. All right, thank you. Have a good one. Hi, welcome to Morning Coffee with Dave Casty. My previous video I went over unboxing this solar panel, this beautiful 200 watt solar panel. Now I'm just going to quickly go over. So I got the mounting brackets that came with the solar kit. I got the 400 watt solar kit, and I'm just going to quickly go over mounting these guys. So just show you how that's done. It's pretty simple. It came with 4 brackets for each panel, I believe. Yeah. So you kind of have to gauge where you would like the brackets. They gave you 2 options. You want them a little further apart or closer together. I'm gonna put this one right here, I think, at least for the sake of the video. So it comes with the bolts. Basically, you just put this guy in here, put the nut, just kind of screw that on. A little bit of trouble with this. Also, I couldn't use my socket wrench because unfortunately these must be like on the metric system or something that my socket wrench doesn't recognize. But that's fine. I was able to find a wrench that does fit it.
You can always just get away with using an adjustable wrench. You can screw that in there. Make sure this part right here along the edge is flush. Keep it, you know, even and squared. So just tighten it as much as you can with your finger, and then what I did was just I took this adjustable wrench, kept it down here, and just kind of put my body against it to maintain that it keeps flush, and just tighten it. So this wrench is a 3/8, I think, just in case you need a reference to which wrench to use. And just tighten as much as you can. And that's it. And then obviously these two holes are for mounting it to wherever, you know, whatever surface you're mounting it to. I'm going to be mounting it to my roof. It comes with these screws here, right? So you've got some teeth to them, and then this obviously will kind of drill its own hole. I also got roof sealant, waterproof roof sealant. So I'm going to be drilling the holes into the roof, plugging it with roof sealant, and then plugging these holes with roof sealant as well. And then, you know, they'll do the other side, and it should be good to go. Like I said, it's up to you, like how far apart you want the actual brackets. I don't think it really matters unless you have some kind of obstruction on how you mount them. All right, well, that's it for this video.
All right, as promised, I just wanted to quickly show you the diagram from richsolar.com on how to connect the system as a whole. So Rich Solar, if you go to richsolar.com, here, let me just go there real quick. The 400 watt, 12 volt, 40 amp MPPT kit. I actually got this for, I think, a little cheaper, almost like $100 cheaper. But in any case, if you go to the kit itself, and then obviously you see the package contents, then you can click on this nifty diagram on actually how to configure everything. So this is really neat. As you can see, so you have your solar panels, and then they advise you to connect them in series. So in order to do that, you just connect the positive of the first panel into the negative of the second panel, and then you do the negative of the first panel directly into the charge controller, and the positive from the second panel into the charge controller. And then in between, right, in between the MC4 connector of the solar panel and the extender cable, you're going to insert this fuse here. So it comes, this package comes with this fuse, which is great. The only fuse that it doesn't come with is this ANL fuse 40 amp, which, as you can see, is optional. And then also it doesn't come with a fuse. It's good to have a fuse in between your battery and your inverter. So I actually bought a 200 amp fuse. I believe it's a 200 amp fuse that will go from the in between the battery and the inverter. So there are your solar panels. Here's your charge controller. And let me just zoom in on this. This is also cool. This is a pretty high def diagram here showing each component in detail. So obviously your solar panels go into the PV plus and negative where it reads solar. Your battery is going to go where it says battery. The Bluetooth connector, which will link itself to an app, will go into this network port here. Obviously, it's not showing anything for low terminals. If you had some low DC draw, right, like LED lights or something that you want to directly hook up to the charge controller without it having a route through the battery, you could do that. As I mentioned, you have a 40 amp ANL fuse between the charge controller and the battery. And And then you have your 12 volt battery here, because it's a 12 volt system. I got basically I got a 100 amp hour battery, a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery, which equates to the way you compute your battery total wattage is you do the voltage times multiplied by the amp hours. So voltage times amp hours will give you the total watts. So in this case, it'd be 1200 watt hours. But really, you don't get that from if you're using a lead acid battery, because really you're not supposed to drain it below a 50% charge. So in that case, you're really only getting 50% of 1200. So that gives you like a 600 watt battery capacity. Obviously, you can increase that by adding more batteries, either in parallel or in series. And then, so Rich Solar does make inverters. The only thing they don't make is the batteries. So if you were looking for like a truly all-in kit, Rich Solar almost provides that outside of the battery from Home Depot. But honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. It's Home Depot for a battery. It's taking forever. If you wanted something quick, just get something from Amazon. But I got just to give you an idea, I got a Renogy 100 amp hour 12 volt lead acid battery. And then I got a power inverter, a 3000 watt power inverter from Amazon. I get the Rich Solar one. I thought they charge a premium for their power inverters. Maybe not so much if you're going for like 1000 or a 2000 watt one, but I wanted to get something with 3000 watt to give myself some room for growth. I eventually, I think, want to do like a 1200 watt system. It's 1.2 kilowatt system overall. So I'll be incorporating more batteries. Honestly, I think if I add another battery to the mix, another 100 amp 12 volt battery, that basically gives me 1200 watt hours, which is good. I mean, obviously, the more batteries, the better. It gives you more storage, and then obviously, eventually, want to add more panels to the mix as well. But the beauty of this setup is that it leaves, as I mentioned earlier, it leaves room for growth. So that's great.
Real quick, I'm up here on my roof. I'm installing the solar panels. As you can see, I have this caulk gun which has like a roof sealant in it. I got this from Amazon. It's a Loctite roof sealant. It's like a charcoal color, and basically I'm drilling the holes and then trying to fill the holes with this roof sealant. And then unfortunately the screws that came with it are these bolt screws, so I didn't have a wrench or a wrench socket set that would fit this. So what I'm doing is I'm using these deck fast screws, and then also, as you can see here, I'm putting the screws that came with these little washer sealant, plastic sealant things, which I'm using to further make it watertight and put a sealant on it. So between the Loctite, the roof sealant, and this little washer here, it should be more than sufficient to keep the water out from the holes. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and show you real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and drill this bad boy in. The hole's been drilled already, just to kind of give you an idea. So yeah, I'm just going to drill it in. There we go, and as you can see, the sealant kind of just naturally wrapped itself around the screw. I might even do a little more sealant just to be on the safe side. Yeah, that should be more than enough. It's a little messy, but you know what? Keeps the water out.
It's just an extra precaution. It's not even really kind of needed. I mean, you're put like hundreds of nails into these roofing shingles anyway. Obviously they're underneath the flaps if you're doing it right, but even still, I mean, it's probably kind of a bit of a frivolous kind of thing, but you know, maybe somewhat of a necessary evil, just to be on the safe side. So that's it. Yeah, that's screwing in the mounting brackets to the roof, and then I'll do each. So that was 1 of 4, so I'll do the other 3 now. All right, hey guys, this is my continuing series of my solar setup. I got both panels, 200-watt panels on the roof. As you can see here, we have, I'm going to connect these in series. So we have this red one is going to actually go down into the shed and connect to the charge controller. And then this negative one is actually going to go into this positive one. And then this negative one is going to go to the charge controller. So that will connect them in series. Yeah, and that's basically it. As you can see, I kind of cascaded the mounting brackets so they could be a little closer together, and so I would have room to get myself in there and screw those down. They could probably even be a little closer together, but I could, as it was, I barely had enough room to get my drill in there to screw those down, so I think that's perfect amount of spacing in between each one. And as you can see, I have plenty of room left on my roof. I could probably easily put in 2 more panels up here and then probably 2 more down here on the front. So right now I have a 400-watt system, but I could easily probably get up to like 1200. All right. Oh, also, yeah, I just wanted to quickly actually connect these guys up. So like I mentioned, this negative one is going to go into this positive one. So let me do that now. All right, hopefully you can see this. I did my best. I have it in selfie mode. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but in any case. So like I said, the negative is going to go into the positive here. Connect those together. This positive one here, that's going to go, so negative to positive. So negative on the first panel to positive on the second panel. Positive here is going to go down into the charge controller. Negative here is going to go down to the charge controller. And actually I should have brought up my extension cables, but it should give you an idea of the hookup, and that connects them in series. Alright, for the 2 people that are still watching this video, this should be the last of the solar panel setup. Obviously not the whole system setup, the solar panel setup, so I probably went up and down the ladder more times than I needed to, but here it finally goes. So I got these beautiful extension cables that came with the Rich Solar kit. So I got the positive and the negative. So now, since I have these hooked up in the series, now all I have to do is connect this positive one right there. And then I'm gonna I actually also drilled a hole through the side of the top side of the shed right over here, in that direction. So I just drilled a hole, and I'm gonna punch these cables through that hole, and then that will go into the shed. So I'm just going to dump those off to the side here. There we go. So that's the positive cable. You can see that, the positive. And then I got the negative cable here. So I'm just going to, this is the negative cable. So, and also it's cool, they have these, they already kind of wire cut these for you and then clip them. So all I have to do is remove that little tab there, and then I'm good to go. But it's also good to cut these to length, so if there's more cabling here than I need, I'll probably cut them and re-splice them. But here we go. So this is the negative cable. I'm going to throw that on the side of the roof and just feed those through into the shed. And then I can hook it up to the charge controller. Well, actually, I'm not going to hook it up to the charge controller just yet, because it's not good to hook them up to the charge controller because you could overload it if you don't have the charge controller going into a battery. It needs to be offloading into something first. But all right, that's it for that. All right, I lied on the last video when I said it was the last one. I just wanted to quickly show you where I'm feeding the cabling through the extension cables. I just drilled this little hole here, and I'm just feeding them through that little hole. So let me just show you real quick. So I'm just popping that in there and then feeding them through. And then that's how they'll get inside to the shed. So that'll keep a minimal amount of cabling exposed. As you can see, it's just still kind of a bit of a spider web up here. I'm gonna have to figure out some way to tie these puppies down, but you know, I'll figure that out. I could just use some kind of staples or some kind of cable ties and tie those securely to the roof. And then yeah, that should do it. And then these cables will go into the charge controller where it says PV or photovoltaic. Alright, so real quick, this is the overall setup. The only thing I don't have in this setup yet, and it's taking forever, I ordered a battery from Home Depot. It's a lead acid battery. So not the best, obviously it's not lithium, but I figured it's a good starter battery. So here's my 40 amp charge controller. I got the cables coming from the solar panel, so I have the positive and the negative, which will go into, actually it doesn't even say PV anymore, it's just straight up solar, so couldn't be any more obvious of where those cables need to go. And then obviously you have your battery cables that go into there. And then I have my inverter, which converts the DC charge to AC. I'm not gonna hook up, I think the order of sequence is you hook up your inverter first, or the battery to the inverter, and then you can do the solar panels. You don't want to put in your solar panels without it having some way to route itself, because then you can blow the charge controller and seriously damage it and probably void your warranty. I think that's correct. Obviously I'm not going to do it because there's really no point without, I'm doing an off-grid kit here, so there's no point in me even hooking that up yet. So hopefully I'll get my battery soon, and then when I do, I'll hook that up and demonstrate that for you. So as you can see, this is a pretty simple setup from the inverter. I just put in this power strip. Actually, that power strip will actually just provide an extra layer of protection. Obviously I'm going to fuse everything from the inverter to the battery, and probably do a probably need a little longer battery cable coming from the fuse there. I have a fuse, let me see if I can find that real quick. I have a fuse for, oh here it is. I have a fuse, I think this is a 15 amp fuse. Yep, 15 amp diode fuse that will connect directly to this guy here. Actually it's got a female and a negative, so actually I might have to do that up on the roof. Actually I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I'll figure that out. But yeah, that's going to go to the positive cable. I'll figure out how to plug that in, and then yeah, the negative will go directly to the charge controller. And then also I use a lot of Ryobi tools. I even have a Ryobi lawnmower, so that's a 40 volt, that takes a 40 volt lithium battery. Obviously that's not up here. These are from like my weed whacker, leaf blower, all my power tools, my drill. I even have a power saw and all that. So yeah, so I'll power this whole shed. Probably plug in some LED lights directly into the power surge, and then yeah. And then eventually, if I get enough power, I want to route maybe a cable. I have an electric car. I know it's going to take a lot of power to charge my electric cable, but even on a slow charge, it does, I think it's 1.3 kilowatt hours. So obviously that's a lot of juice. I only have 400 watts up there now. So it's going to take a lot more power to even kind of handle that. All right, so that's it for now. Real quick, at a dub moment. Yeah, so this will go, obviously it's male to female, so actually I'll plug the male into this female here on top of the roof. So these are the MC4 connectors, and then obviously this male will feed in to the other clip. So I have the extension cables that feed into, so in between the extension cables and the solar panel connector itself, the positive, this fuse will fit right into that equation. So in between the extension cable and the solar panel. So that's where this fuse comes into play, and that's just overprotection. It will cut itself off if it gets overloaded.